Happy Thursday, everyone. Today is Under the Cowl of MS podcast episode where I talk about whatever I feel like. Uh, got the old bandana on because I'm in between loads. I think I got about 10 to 12 loads left in the storage shed. And then I can finally just sit here and work on things instead of running down, grabbing loads, putting them away, and then coming back grabbing some and taking them upstairs and all that stuff. I just want to have it all here so I can just take my time and go through crate by crate, box by box, tote by tote, and see what we come up with. But definitely getting the paint mixed for my new YouTube room this week. This weekend I'm gonna drop the paint off probably Saturday. Then we'll go run our errands, come back and grab it. Then I'll probably start painting early next week. Uh, but other than that, I gotta do a lot of tree chopping and trimming and cutting down. Finally had a bonfire and cleaned up my fire pit. So now I just gotta dig all the soot out of there that was piled up from the last owner. I got tons of nails and hinges and all this other shit, so I don't know what they were all burning, but there's lots of metal laying in there, so I'm gonna have to be careful and pick that shit out so my cat doesn't step on a nail or a screw or get one in the tire or something like that. Uh, yeah, I got some major tree trimming. I learned what I thought was a chestnut tree out in our yard, or trees, I should say. Ooh, that's just about, it's like perfect temperature. Heck, had some weird groaning noise. I don't know if it came from like a water heater downstairs or something. Something made underneath me, behind me. Who knows? Probably got a wild badger stuck back there. Been leaving the doors open during the day 'cause it's been so nice and cool out past couple days. Getting past the humidity, but it is supposed to go up to 90 again early next week. So gotta enjoy this while I can. That's why I want to get some tree trimming done. At least get some of the branches that are hitting the house. Get those chopped off. But what I thought was a chestnut tree, because they're the green round balls, is a black walnut tree. Or I keep saying tree. I caught the neighbor. A big couple big branches came off of his. He's got one that's about 70 foot high. We learned by researching them that they grow up to 100 feet high. And I got three, six, seven, eight. I think eight of them along the side of my house, and thankfully right now the trunks are only about 10 inches in diameter. But yeah, if those things grow up to 50, 60, 100 feet tall, those roots are just going to push right through my south wall of my basement. And not putting up with that. And I learned that black walnut trees can kill well, not necessarily kill, but not allow things around them to grow. They have that green shell that puts out that toxic smell, which I think it's like a citronella type smell. You would think it would help with the skeeters around here, which I didn't really have many skeeters until this past week. The past week sitting outside and stuff, they've been more active, but they don't like my MS blood for some reason, so I only get one oddball one every now and then. It actually tries to eat me, bite me, suck my blood, but usually they land on me and just fly away. I don't know why. I don't know what causes it, but I guess. Ever since I realized I had MS, I realized that I just don't get eaten by mosquitoes like I did when I was a kid. But my wife does, so she can deal with those pain in the ass bugs. Uh, but yeah, it's crazy how the black walnut tree will do that. And then I learned the neighbor, when he was chopping up the branches that fell and stuff, I seen him hauling pails of those green nuts, and stopped and talked to him. He's like, yeah, he just fills like a truck bed full every year to go to the dump. There's so many of them that fall off these trees, and of course they're against squirrels, so they don't want to leave no nuts for the squirrels. But they're pissed off that squirrels go in their yards to get food. It's like, well, you're taking their main source. And if they'll eat the black walnuts, let them. And the squirrel the other day was just outside my window on the tree, and he had one of those big green things in his mouth, and it's as big as its head. He's just running around carrying it, hiding it. So he's got it in the future, hiding it for the winter. But everybody, the neighbors are insisting on getting rid of the squirrels, so they don't leave any of those things lay around, which is crazy. But then when we're looking in the back neighborhood down the road, down at the other neighbors' backyards, there's about 30 of these black walnut trees out there, and they cut a bunch down. And he said the ones that uh, were in the garden, his garden area and stuff, he can't even grow tomatoes in that area anymore or anything. Stuff just won't grow. So I don't know what the poison is that's on the green part of the shells that causes that, but I was gonna let some dry out and try them, but he says they're really bitter. So, and of course, going after animals and stuff. Apparently, one guy, our old landlord, used to. We had one of these trees out front of our house, and again, I thought it was a chestnut tree back then, but he would take them all and he'd boil them down, and that made some type of thing that he used on all his traps. So I don't know what, probably covers up smells or something. I don't know, or attracts animals because else. But yeah, so we got a lot of tree trimming to do, but yet I like the trees block views from the rest of the neighborhood. So I gotta at least keep the window areas with enough tree activity that they stay with the blockage. I like leaving my shades open, and when you live in town, constantly got people walking by, and this way they're not staring at you through the window. But yeah, got lots of that, lots and lots of that stuff. So, but it's that time of year. It's getting close to fall. It's more enjoyable to work outside, so I'm gonna start getting the outside crap done. I just wish the stupid people that came and looked at the house would get a hold of me with the damn quotes so we could set up an appointment, especially the roofing and siding guys. So I can get those things, those panels sealed up and get that overhang fixed, sealed up. Because it's that time of year, they're going to start, critters are going to start storing food, critters are going to start nesting inside of walls and stuff like that. So I want to stop that before it happens. That's why I want to do the street trimming, because that stop their access of coming to my roof, and then I can start cleaning a bunch of stuff out. Get someone to come out and clean out my attic area and sit there and lay insulation in the attic. So that helps with the heat this winter, keeping it in the house so it's not just escaping the house. Let's see. Listen, if you're looking for a way to turn a bunch of grown men into a bunch of whimpering, bickering slobs, you could hardly do better than this. They're talking about the 100 most important comics of all time, and yeah, there's going to be people that argue it. Don't agree with you. The problem is an obvious one. Everyone has their favorite comics, indeed. Everyone probably has a perception of comics that are important to them. That's not the same as knowing what books have been important to the field of comics. Just because no one reading this magazine has probably ever seen a copy of Famous Bunnies #1 doesn't mean it wasn't important to the evolution of comics. Suppose we could just if I wanna, this is a lot of reading, which should take us through a lot of episodes. Suppose I don't really need to get into reading the whole thing. Just basically focus on some of the comics. The death of Jean Grey may have been cheapened over the years, but one of the reasons that her resurrection was greeted with such shock was the tremendous impact of X-Men 137. Then, of course, there were a few ne'er-do-wells who kept running around insisting that they included the first issue of Bone or Prime, which are good books, but important pieces of comic book history, not quite, not yet. Uh, some people disagreed with the selection of certain issues over others. In those cases, one simply has to say that without the one we picked, the one that might be considered a better book wouldn't have happened. Neil Gaiman has acknowledged that Sandman #9, the start of the Doll's House saga, was a turning point in the direction of the book. By the same token, however, #9 couldn't have happened without the impressive framework he laid down in issue 1. Let's see. You'll be sure to include All American Comics #16, won't you? But they show this fun, the big comic magazine. In here. It's from Publications Incorporated. It's 10 by 15 size, approximated the tabloid size more closely than the Sunday Comics, which its contents attempted to emulate. Although it did feature stuff, pulpwood, color covers, its contents consisted of strips created by a combination of veteran illustrators looking for Depression era work, youngsters who wanted into the high tone newspaper strip field, and syndicated wannabes whose portfolios were loaded with completed sample strips they'd been unable to peddle to anyone. For their trouble, the cartoonist often went unpaid. Characters ranged from adventure-oriented knockoffs of Jungle Jim and Captain Easy, like Wing Brady, Soldier of Fortune, Jack Woods, and Barry O'Neill, of Flash Gordon, and Buck Rogers, like Dan Drake on the planet Sorrow, and 2023 Super Police, Sandra of the Secret Service, Pelion and Osa, Buckskin Jim, the Trailblazer, and the subtly altered Jack Andrews, All American Boy, the Magic Crystal of History, and Ivanhoe served educational requirements, while Oswald the Rabbit, based on the Walt Disney created strip then owned by Walter Lantz, Universal, After School, Caveman Capers, Local Luke, Bubby and Beeble, Judge Perkins, Captain Eric, Jigger and Ginger, and Scrub Hardy established the attempt to prove the comic of the title was at least partially correct. Each strip comprised from little as 1/5 of a page to one entire page in this first issue, clearly an attempt to fool readers into thinking what they were getting was really Sunday Comics reprints. Color was also restricted to about half the book, and usually only one color per strip, and the comics were the first to contain ads. The first issue strips, guess we are going to read this stuff. Much information in the article itself. Here is the fun big comic magazine cover. That's what it looks like. Like something cheap comic collector would have for us to pick up. Sure. Dr. Silver Age and them. Probably have these. Okay. Of the first issue strips, Wing Brady lasted until number 52, January 1940, and Barry O'Neill were the only long-term survivors, and they were hardly household names. In fact, other than becoming the initial comic in the DC line, about the only really noticeable thing about the first years of New Fun is that Walt Kelly did his first comic book work here on one-page strips titled Down by the Old Mill Stream and the Little People. And when Wheeler Nicholson's New Comics was added in December of 1935, he also did Gulliver's Travels. However, despite initial sluggish sales, Wheeler Nicholson increased New Fun to 68 pages with number 6, October 1935. Why would that be 1930? Okay, all right, that's number 6 to other. The 1941 was mentioning that it lasted until number 52 in January 1940. Thought that was the comic before this one, but that makes more sense. All right. And that number 6, which also introduced a feature called Dr. Occult by a new comics team, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Anybody know those people? Which featured an early harbinger of a later Man of Steel and altered two other aspects of the magazine with number 7, because new comics had been introduced in the Famous Funnies format and was more successful than New Fun. The dimensions shrank to standard comic book size, and to prevent too much confusion between the two titles, the title of New Fun became More Fun Comics. It would be several years, however, before More Fun became anything more than a historical footnote. All right, we're gonna, I guess, read these page by page and check them out. Next one is Action Comics #1. Everybody should know that comic, but hopefully we can find out some fun information about it that we didn't know. So, I don't know where to put my stuff. Got too much crap in the way. I mentioned the past couple weeks that I'm doing a comic pick of the week. This one, I wouldn't usually pick a swimsuit issue, but this is Marvel Swimsuit Special, which I didn't think I had or had coming. So Dan Cicada Inc. was selling this one, so I got it, which I would not usually buy if I didn't think I didn't have the issue coming, because I am not a fan of Scott Summers. I don't know. He's the one reason I have issues with the X-Men. He's the main reason. But then I realized after I read that one and reviewed it, I was going through my stack that came in a few weeks ago, my monthly order, and sure as shit, I had an issue in here. But I bought it because I just love the surfboard cover. Each of the wonderful gals that we all love happen to have a surfboard that matches their persona. I just really like the way they did that. So I had that one, and this one will be going for sale because of Scott Summers. But there is a very fun story. This is the reason I picked it up, because I will not buy a swimsuit issue unless it's got a mini story at least. Because these have been some of the funnest stories out there, especially the ones through the Grim Fairy Tales swimsuit issues, which I noticed my newest Grim Fairy Tales got canceled off my order. So I don't know why it was canceled by Previews magazine, and they also canceled my Rocky Horror Picture Show book, which the wife was very excited about getting, and now it's apparently not being printed, or it's going to be printed later. I don't know. But yeah, you got a good variety of images in here and stuff. Everybody hanging out around the pool, but the whole storyline is based on the swimsuit issue. There's a albino shark image here, which Jeff the land shark. But the story focuses on the gang trying to put out a swimsuit calendar, swimsuit issue type thing, uh, because someone else criticized something, or the Roxxon Corporation, they put out a swimsuit issue, so our characters decided to compete with them, uh, and sit there and put out a better swimsuit issue, see if they can get people to like it. And there's a really fun twist with the Punisher towards the end of it, and it's just, yeah, it's they did a good job with that story. The pictures, I didn't really like that many of them. I did like that they had characters in the back that you could cut out and build stuff with, put different things on them, put their body parts together, all that stuff, just like an action figure would be. I like how they did that. in the back. But yeah, the images, they were very iffy. There's one more I'll show you. But since I have the issue I care about, this one will be going in the sale pile. Even though I just picked it up, but I just stupidly didn't know I had the surfboard cover. I should have known that. I do have my room upstairs. Once I get it all set up for my YouTube room, two things I want to do is, well, I have an art project I want to work on. I got some nice wood boxes that are perfect for standing my comics up in that I want to show off every now and then. Uh, so I'm gonna be using that for like my autograph, my specialty covers, art covers, all that stuff, sketch covers. So I will uh, be setting that up, but I also want to do. I have so many Legos. Anytime I see them at a rummage sale, I buy them because things are never going down in price. So if I get good deals on a bunch of them, bags full of them and stuff, I do that. And in my room, I want to just make a horror Lego area. I have thought about getting the O scale. Is it the O scale? Electric trains. Get a set of those, get some loose tracks and all that stuff, and have the trains going through the whole horror village. I might do that if I can find a good deal on it. It's I want to go with the one that's just under HO scale, HO scale. When I say O scale, I think that is the big one, Lionel's. Uh, but I could be wrong. But I want the itty bitty one that's smaller than the HO scale. So that way I can have a decent area set up in a small. I'll like run it around like half my room or something like that. But I also gotta be careful and double up with a ramp above it so the cat, instead of climbing on my Lego train area, will climb on the ramps above the Lego train area, and then he can just walk through and then swat at the train as it goes through or whatever you want. But it'll be a project that'll take me years to get anywhere near a completion. I just want to gradually build at a time. But I want to have a shark area. Jaws represents great for horror, but and I want to also learn about using technic bricks or technique bricks, whatever they're called, and all the motorized stuff that technique is used for. And so I wanted to pick up a set that had some pieces in it that I could check out and learn about, see how they work. And with doing a shark area, this is a cool motorized shark. They had on sale for like 25 bucks. So I figured, what the heck? Pick that up. Make a cool Jaws scene with that. I don't know if I'll use this one. I want to see how I can play with techniques, because if I can somehow get it where his body is angled upward, then I'll use him in a Jaws scene. Otherwise, he'll be some other type of shark in the shark emporium area. um, but my goal is to at least have something Jaws related set up with it. And I figure in the background do like a head of a megalodon shark for to represent the Meg movies, stuff like that. Movies that I really enjoy. Sharknado, maybe do some type of tornado with some little Lego sharks in the tornado. The hardest part is getting the damn the Lego characters. It's easier just to build your own, but then they're such bigger size than you want them. So I want to get my hands on a bunch of Lego characters and stuff. So anybody wants to send me a gift, Lego Technic stuff and Lego character stuff. Scooby Doo, big time, trying to get Scooby at least one of the Scooby Doo haunted house type Lego sets. Oh, they are always so damn expensive and never have the characters in them. Irritates me when I go on eBay to buy shit and I'm thinking I'm buying a new item and I don't pay attention that it says in the fine print no characters are included with this Lego box. Everything else is brand new in the plastic, but I took the Lego characters to keep for myself. That irks me to no end. But the surprise in the box, I didn't just have this guy. I had this guy. Big bat. And this is way bigger than the shark. But apparently this character was on sale and the wife's seen it. And of course she's a vampire freak. So she's like, decided to pick this up. And that was awesome. Because of course I'm going to have bats. Like a whole bat belfry area or something. Something with a bunch of bats in it. Probably off the castle. You gotta have a nice big haunted castle, and then I can do a bunch of bat stuff, and then I could also do some fun Batman related stuff. Uh, and Man Bat, all the different bat superheroes. Same with the sharks. I can do Shark Man and stuff like that. Yeah, it'll be fun over the years trying. The biggest problem is getting, like I said, that has figures in it. Everything else, you go to Lego stores, and yeah, they're not cheap, even when they have sales going on. They have the big mixed Lego area where it's just a ton of loose Legos, and you grab a cup and they charge it by the pound. So you can go in there and get a bunch of pieces that oddball pieces you might need. So another thing I want a bunch of is the colored see-through bricks for making the water, the lava, all the different stuff. Those are better for the flowing concepts in your build, and then use the solid color bricks for just the grass and the sand and dirt and all that shit and the building structures. But yeah, hopefully someday I can get a couple of the haunted items I want to get from Lego. It just really irritates me when just because something's popular that they gotta jack the price. Just make a few extra thousand freaking sets and you'll sell them. And it's like, yeah, you'll sell them a little bit cheaper, but you'll sell more because they're so popular. All the collectors will buy them. So it's like, why not? Instead of keeping shit limited, why not put out a ton of sets? All you're doing is printing plastic. It's like people got to be such asses about production. It's like that's why society today is so screwed up with collectors because they think everything from their childhood 20 years ago is so important and it goes up in price, yes, but eventually it'll just drop way down in price. So you're paying higher price for items that in the near future are going to go way down again, and they don't resell well because they're mass produced, but you can't find the shit. It's just why the true collectors stick with shit that's pre 80s. And I collect all coins that are pre 1980s. I collect any type of comics, action figures, anything like that that I get my hands on pre 80s. I'll take. I'll go into the mid 80s. Once you hit 90s, I mean, once you hit the late 80s, that's when production skyrocketed with a lot of things. Thought I had some other things laying around. Thought there was some other object I wanted to show you guys and gals, but I don't see it at the moment. Can't. It was something that the wife picked up. But cleaning out my old family home, came across this. I used to have a collection to bananas. Rocky 13, Rocky and Apollo, all old, beaten up. But I liked bananas more than I did Mad magazine back in the day. Uh, Same with Cracked. Just seemed like back in my day with Mad magazine, it was very political. Yeah, they focused on movies and stuff, but they were very political in their structure and uh, storylines and all that stuff. Whereas I felt Bananas and Cracked was a little more fun. Arnold there and Conan. It says someone once told popular cartoonist Gary Telequid that he couldn't draw flies, and so he's been drawing them ever since. Gary sent several hundred of his fly cartoons to us from his home in Pestilence Falls, Nebraska. Unfortunately, they were lost in the mail. What the hell that's be there for, but you know you're not going to enjoy the rock concert when the scalpers in front of the concert hall are trying to give away tickets. It's already past midnight and the opening act is still setting up their equipment. Yeah, it's a fun concert mishaps and problems going on. People bringing their pets. Guy sitting with his dog on one side of a character and sitting with his on the other side of him. He's got a gal with a cat. It's gonna be a fight. Join us now for the drama, the excitement, and the romance of a day in the life of Christy Kramer and her mom. I don't know who Christy Kramer is. The National Beast Test. Possessions tell a lot about a person. How many of the following items do you own? Check mark next to the ones you possess. If you do not own any of these objects, lie and say that you do. A stuffed goat. Oh, got a stuffed one. Got a plastic one though. Several large envelopes filled with hair. A set of designer dribble glasses. A dress shirt that glows in the dark. A dress shirt that glows in the light. A face that glows in the dark. Another stuffed goat. A squirting dictionary or almanac. Old tweezers. Several wisdom teeth that once belonged to friends. Chinwagger. A digital joy buzzer. And yet another stuffed goat. What is this beast doing? Is he making a real impression on his date's parents? Yeah, he's definitely making an impression on them. Entertaining his date's parents with a few musical selections. Oh, he's doing little fart noises out of his mouth. Demonstrating the need for better mental health care in this country. He definitely looks like a mental case. And saying hello. I think he's just saying hello. Now that was all black and white, and now we got Don't You Wish You Were in a Different Family When? That one's colored section. When your most important date of the year comes by and your dad answers the door in shorts and a stained t shirt. That was common back then. Everybody after 5 p.m. were running around in their underwear. You have six older brothers and they all pick on you. That's common. Youngest kid, you get the most shit. Your parents get into a loud screaming argument in the middle of a crowd bus. He's got all kinds of fun parental goofiness. Your dog gets better food than you do. And I got movie sequels will soon be seen. Yeah, E.T. Returns, Conan the 17th, Rocky the 13th, Annie 3. Oh, Joe, crazy Hungarian will like this one. Raiders of the Lost Ark 22. Uh, it's like in Raiders of the Lost Ark 22. Indy's like, at last, my search is over. After all these years and dozens of movie sequels, I've found it. And his girlfriend, what is it, Indiana? The golden idol of the Incas? The scarlet ruby of the Ming Emperor? Attila the Hun's baby shoes? And Indy says, no, a clean hat. I got Poltergeist 58. I think L is for 50, right? Or is that 100? It's either 58 or 108. But they have Casper the Ghost and appears in that Poltergeist. You got Son of Superman LXIV. He's a fatty. Oh, I love this centerfold because I always love the characters that were always hanging in the dungeons. But yeah. Are you sick and tired of people everywhere you go telling you to have a nice day? Well, maybe they'll take the hint when you put up this cheerful poster. Pull it out carefully from the magazine and put it on your wall. And one last reminder from us, have a nice day. Two guys hanging in the dungeon. One saying to the other one, have a nice day. Got a hay lighting up area. Got a Joe, that kind of character that kind of reminds me of the Keep on Rolling character. The guy that has the long, stretched out legs as he's walking. The image was popular back then. It never fails at the dinner table. Dinner table issues. There's only one piece of pie left from the night before, and your sister claims it before you remember it. Your sister cooks for the first time, and you're the only one who's home for dinner then. Everyone else keeps the spaghetti neatly on their forks, but yours ends up all over your face. Uh, these are the jokes, folks. Babysitter answering the phone. I'm sorry, but Mr. and Mrs. Chumpkin are out. They're at class taking their French lessons. Voice on the phone. Why on earth are they studying French? Babysitter. They adopted a French baby and they want to be able to understand her when she starts to talk. Woman at a hotel desk. Can you give me a room and bath? Clerk. Well, I can give you a room, but you'll have to take your own bath. Sam. I hate people who can't ever make decisions, don't you? Pam. Yes and no. Uh, teacher. Dimmy, you is a pronoun. Dimmy. I am not. I'm a student. Teacher. Oh, Dimmy, what are you going to be when you get out of school? Dimmy. Well, at the rate I'm going, I'd say about 58 years old. Yeah. Car pit that talks about old cars and their value. Don't you wish section. Pig Hollow cartoon. Looks like a fun hillbilly cartoon. Check out. This is in really good condition. Considering back in the day, I usually tore out the posters and stuff like that. But this one's pretty decent. Added wear and stuff. But yeah, that was a fun book from my past. I was happy to get my hands back on. As far as watching shows, just basically watching a lot of repeats of like Bargain Hunters and stuff when the wife's home, and shows that are based off the UK Bargain Hunters shows. Uh, Basically different auctioneer style things, just because we're trying to get a bunch of stuff together that we're selling, and we're getting into watching the old antique shows and seeing what they got, because we got a lot of that colored glass and stuff like that, and silver pieces that we are planning on getting rid of. Uh, but on Amazon, I checked out Chris Claremont's X-Men. Very interesting documentary. I learned a lot about the Uncanny X-Men and stuff back in the day when Claremont got it started. And up until the point where things started going awry, storylines got really boring. Characters weren't fighting as much as they used to, and with evil characters and stuff like that, they're just, okay, they're going off to school, they're doing this, they're hanging with their friends, they're having a picnic, all this shit. just not exciting storylines, and it just started to fall apart. And then other creators started coming in, and Chris Claremont just didn't get his due, his attention for his creations and stuff as well as he should have. A bunch of stuff like that, but a lot of great people talking about Chris and stuff on there. That era of comics. It's a great documentary to check out if you're into because of course the X-Men were a big our comics industry, uh, and also I thought I already watched it, but it was must have been a different document that focuses more on the Stan Lee screwing over Jack Kirby stuff. But this was Kirby at War, and it was a really good documentary about how he started out in comics, ended up having to go off to World War II, went through a lot of shit, uh, lost a lot of friends, a lot of bad memories and stuff from that time, but he put so much of it into his books, and that's why I love the Howling Commandos and all that stuff. And a lot of that came from Kirby's uh, times, time in war, and people that he was at war with and stuff. Uh, Fellow soldiers and things he's seen happen and went through and all that stuff. And it just really great documentary showing that period of Jack Kirby's life. And I suggest both those documentaries any comic book collector should check out. Maybe learn a little bit. There's hard the periods that the early comic artists went through, and creators and writers all went through with the comic industry, and they're putting out so many pages of stuff, so many different comics at one point, and for each different creator, and the amount of work they put into it, and the little bit of money that they got for doing it back then, it's insane. But that's how you get a industry off the ground, is by busting your ass and not getting rich for it, and then someone else gets rich after you're dead because of it. Sad, sad, sad how that works, and that's why I like promoting different organizations that are helping with creators. Can't think of the exact names of them anymore, but we have a lot of great things that are focusing on different things like conditions and stuff, cancer and mental health issues and all that stuff. I got the Heroes for Heroes, you got comics curing cancer, all those things. But there's also organizations started by children of the creators back in the day, have opened up organizations to help with like insurance and stuff. I mean, creators, you can be a comic book creator, but you don't have no insurance to take care of yourself, and you can't afford out of pocket because you ain't making shit for money and things like that. It's just to help out the creators from the past, and give them what they deserve and help them out. And if they're gone, they're past or whatever, make sure that their family is still represented and taken care of. Many of the creators' families members went on into the industry and stuff like that too. But it's a struggle to this day. It's a struggle. I watch my friends that are putting out comic books, it's like, yeah, I have ideas for comics that are sketched in and written in books, and I'd like to put them out someday, maybe. But then I watch, it's like all that work to get stuff printed, get it out to the masses, setting up at cons and sitting there all day and making a few bucks. And like, I'm not going to go through all that. It's just too much effort, but yet we're at a phase right now with Diamond Comics distributing going bankrupt and us seeing what the industry is going to do as far as our carriers of our books in the future. Is there going to be someone that's going to take over Diamond, or is there going to be a new company that's going to come out and take over the distribution of all the different books and company from all the different companies and stuff like that? Or are we going to see where we're going to have to go back to? It was a big thing in the 90s. The one friend of mine that ran the comic book companies that, or not companies, comic book shops that I grew up in and supported and ended up taking over some of their business and stuff. It's like back then, a friend of mine had stacks of books of comics that you never heard of, but they're all these little independent companies. And it's like, if you have to order from a ton of different companies, then shipping starts getting more expensive, all that stuff. That has to go into the price of the comics when you resale. And it can be pretty devastating. But to this day, there's a lot of tiny companies out there that you don't hear about those books. They're not in the catalogs. Now, with the whole bankruptcy and stuff, I noticed my online ordering, uh, the independent comic section went from 80 to 90 pages down to 40 pages, 40 to 45 pages. So it lost a lot of comics that I don't know where to find right now. It's like, I remember all the companies' names offhand without digging the comics out and looking them up. I was worried because there hasn't been a new Barbarian comic in a while. And thankfully, in the last order form, they have a new one. I'm like, for a minute there, I was like, oh, do I gotta find the company and find it, get direct distribution from them or what? Ben Dunn announced that he's got a whole new platform coming out. He's working on a platform for the Kickstarter style aspects of comics, and he's working for a platform to bring in other creators and stuff into the Antarctic Press world, and should be interesting. Uh, I will always follow Antarctic Press and support Ben Dunn. So he's trying his best to keep his part of the industry going. It's just it's a sad point, a sad time. I know a lot of my friends on YouTube are not really talking about it. They're more into stuff that's silver, gold, Bronze Age comics. Uh, they're more into that right now, collecting stuff from the past. Well, you can get it for a reasonable price. Hopefully, some of it, some of it's still outrageous. But it turns them away from the new comics. And there's a lot of good stories out there that I believe are being produced. I don't want to see these newer creators start dying off. It's going to be sad, but there are so many new creators coming out. Why you got freaking 50 covers for one issue one of a comic and stuff like that. Yeah, it's nice to see all these different covers, but I don't understand when someone buys a 1 in 25 or something like that and they're forking out big bucks for it. And then 6 months to a year down the road, you're finding them in dollar bins. I mean, finding great deals on them. I don't, if you've seen what I seen, the 1 in 25, 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, whatever, wouldn't mean shit to you. But one company that became my new LCS for a little while, I'm not going to bother mentioning their name, but they opened a shop. I took a bunch of comics in after I bought a bunch from them and got on there, got them to start supplying me with my comic order every week and all that stuff. Little flies buzzing around. I got the door wide open. Cat's asleep. I don't know why I have the door open. Nice little breeze coming in. And I gotta go back out and haul a bunch more boxes. Totes. Uh, but uh, oh yeah, that comic shop. I ended up taking a bunch of comics I didn't care about anymore to help them get some inventory to get going, which I don't know why they needed that, because after gave them the inventory, I learned more about them. They had a whole back room full of comics already, but they gave me like $700 credit for the comics that I brought, which was killer amount for what I gave them. And all of a sudden, about a month or so after I did that deal with them, they put up a sign that they're going out of business. They weren't getting enough people in there, and of course, the people that were doing their monthly ordering through them weren't picking up their product, weren't paying for the things that they pre-ordered, so the comic shop's ordering all this shit, and they're stuck with the bill. Yeah, you can sell stuff to other people, but you already have those items on your shelf because you pick up 5 comics a piece of each new item that comes out or whatever, or however many you want, but that's what we always did, and stick with like 5 unless it's something massive, and then you get a bunch more, or something that maybe just one person or 2 people would be interested in. You only pick up 1 or 2 covers from them, and then you got to pick from all the different covers that they have out there, and that can empty the wallet really quick. But all of a sudden, they had a ton of limited covers: 1 in 25, 1 in 50, 1 in 10, 1 in 100, and so on. I'm just going through them. It's like buck a piece. All right. So I grabbed a ton of them. And then I had my credit, so I grabbed a bunch more. I also got the wife a cool uh, statue, PVC statue. Can't remember which one it was. If it was the Vampirella one. I think it was the Vampirella bust with the blood running down. Uh, yeah, it was nice to have that credit, but they had a whole room, a whole storage area in back that was just as big as the main room up front, and it was packed full of boxes of comics. It's like this guy just bought out some company, or just had some deal that he got from a company, and then all these highly limited covers. He had so many that he had to sell them for $1 a pop. And it's like, wow. I was bummed when they left, but it was a weird whole weird structure. And it's like he had a lot of good stuff in that back room. Never brought it out. Uh, I would have bought a bunch of it if he would have, or just let me go in the back room and pull what I wanted, and then he could have hit me with a price for it. But yeah, we're over our hour mark, so I need to shut up, get off of here. I'm just trying to delay hauling heavy shit around. So that's why I've been milking it. But I'm gonna go back out and get this load undone and maybe run down and pick up one more load is what I'm thinking. So we'll see what happens. Uh, yeah. So keep following Under the Cowl of MS. Rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend, give us those likes. Leave a comment. I'll comment back. And check out Crimson Cowl Comic Club that I do with some of my friends. We have fun doing that. Do 2 episodes a month. I have a file on my YouTube page for Crimson Cowl comic episodes you can check out, and you can also check out our auction at Psychotronic Squirt Gun on Monday nights, 5 p.m. Central Time. If we do it this coming Monday, I'm doing dollar comics. I got a pile of them so far. I'm going to go through some more later today and try and get it where I have a good variety of them. I want to have at least 2 boxes full to show off. So keep an eye out for that if we do it on Monday, which is a holiday. Then I will do a dollar deal. You got to buy at least 20 books though if you want them shipped for free. But Aaron also brings a lot of great deals and books to the table. He runs the show. He's Psychotronic Squirt Gun and Cicada Sonic. Also does some awesome deals. Brings a lot of newer books to the table, a lot that just came out and stuff, and usually runs them at half price or lower. So check that out. He's been doing 50-cent comics on up. And of course, Dan, and Aaron have been trading comics between us also because people aren't claiming them and stuff they want. They'll claim it, and I'll gladly swap for some books I'm looking for. So, yeah, I'll shut up now, or we'll end up at 2 hour mark. All right, take care. Talk to you again soon. Bye.